Hey friends, Joey here. Welcome into our weekly devotional through the New City Catechism. Excited to be back with you. Today we are going through question 4, which pretty soon I'm going to run out of fingers, but I think I'll make it till Christmas. Too soon? Sorry, too soon to talk about Christmas. I know it's still October, we haven't had Halloween yet, but Christmas is coming, winter is coming. But today we're going to focus on question 4. If this is your first time with us, just want to say welcome in. Glad to have you. Encourage you to follow along. You can pause right now if you want to follow along. You don't have to. You can just listen in. But you can go to newcitycatechism.com and click on the web app or download the mobile app and follow along on your phone. Today we're on question 4 in New City Catechism. Let's dig right in. Question 4 is, how and why did God create us? How and why did God create us? This is a very large question with so many answers, so much we could talk about, but the answer today is really going to hone in on one particular aspect of this question. So let's take a look here. Let's click and reveal the answer to the question of how and why did God create us, and it is, God created us male and female in His own image to know Him, love Him, live with Him, and glorify Him. And it is right that we who were created by God should live to His glory. Okay, a couple things in here that kind of stand out as we think about how they're answering this question in the Catechism today. It's that we were made in God's own image to glorify Him. Those are the two things we're going to focus on today as we take, and what this answer focuses on as we consider this question of how and why did God create us. This week, I was watching the NBA Finals, or I guess it's been several days now, and I don't normally watch basketball. It's boring. I've tried. I just don't understand. And the rules confuse me. Like, how can a guy be standing in front of the basket to guard it, and a guy comes through and just trucks him and knocks him over, and then the guy who's laying on the ground gets called for a foul? I don't understand it. Save yourself the pain and just watch hockey. Much better. But anyway, I digress. I was watching the finals, and the Lakers ended up winning, and LeBron James is on that team. Very popular NBA player right now, one of the best of all time. And of course, every time he wins a championship or goes to the finals, he gets asked this question: are you the best ever? Are you better than Michael Jordan? And he doesn't really like to answer this question, but he had an interesting answer. And so he said, at the end of my career, I hope I've made a lot of people proud for the way I've approached the game, and that's really all that matters to me. And I hope that when people see the way I played, they will say, I respect him no matter what. So LeBron's asked this question about basically his legacy and how good he thinks he is, and to be self-reflective. And he talks about how he wants people to be proud of the way he played, to respect him. And it just got me thinking along the lines of this question with, how do we image ourselves? That is, how do we portray ourselves to the world? Do we care about that? Do we think about it? I think we care about it quite a bit and think about it quite a lot. I recommend today taking a look. We're not going to go through it, but at the commentary section of this app, you can click one over. The John Piper submission is really good, really helpful in talking about this idea of us imaging ourselves. And that's what I want to talk about today. And let's take a quick look at our passage for today. And the passage comes from Genesis 1:27, and it says, so God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created him. So God made us in His image to reflect Him. But we also try to reflect ourselves to the world in the way that we live our lives, the things that we make, the things that we do. I started to ask myself, what are some of those ways that we image ourselves, that we sort of project ourselves and who we are to the world? And the first one that comes to mind, and I guess it's not used as much today, but really social media, especially Facebook. I grew up and going to college in sort of the early days of Facebook, and you carefully curate a profile with a profile picture that portrays you. Maybe it's serious, maybe it's a day that you were looking good, maybe it's goofy, whatever it is you want to portray about yourself and the things that you like, the facts about yourself. I remember taking time to just carefully curate, which bands do I want to say that I like? Which books do I want to say that I've read? Which picture do I want to pick? What does that make people think of me? We think about how we image ourselves to others all the time. We do this with a resume. When we're trying to be hired for a job, we want them to think a certain way about us. We carefully consider, what past jobs am I going to put on this resume so that they think rightly about who I am? Maybe you're more of an artistic creator, and the things that you create really are sharing with the world a piece of yourself. I know my wife talks about the vulnerability of creating something and putting it out there for others to see, because it reveals a little bit of who you are to the world. And then I think the other part of this piece of imaging ourselves is we have this innate desire to create something that's going to last longer than we will, that's going to outlast us. We see this in artistic creation, in songwriting, in book writing, in architecture, right? If you can build a building that's in the New York skyline or the LA or the Chicago skyline, this is going to last. It's going to be there past you. It's going to be a legacy piece for you in the same way that LeBron's playing basketball is a legacy piece for him. Maybe we see this in how we raise our children. We want to raise up kids who are going to go and impact the world, and we hope and desire and expect that they're going to outlive us, and they're going to continue on and sort of continue this legacy. This is something that we helped to build and create that's going to outlast us and impact the world. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur, you start a business or an organization that you hope will outlast. We had this innate desire to do two things. One, to image ourselves to the world, to create things, to present ourselves in a way that presents ourselves in a positive and impactful way to the world, but also in a way that has this legacy that will last. And I think this is just a piece of the way that God made us. He naturally made us with this desire to imprint ourselves on the world and to do it in such a way that it has an eternal or a long-lasting impact. And I think this is just a reflection of God. He did the same thing with us. When He made us, He imprinted Himself into us, and He made us in a way that we desire this eternal existence, and He gave us a soul that can be eternal so that we can be eternal. So He did this as a reflection of Him. He is a creator, He is creative, and He also is eternal, and so He imprints that on us. So when we have that desire, I think that's just us reflecting back God. And so I think it's an incredible thing that God didn't make statues or paintings, or He didn't do it. He did it in such a big way, not these small ways that we try to image ourselves to the world. He made us. He made human beings that are so complex and intricate that could then reflect Him to the world, and in turn reveal His glory to the rest of the world so that we could clearly see Him. Our passage says that God made us to glorify Him, right? We go back and look at Genesis. God created man in His own image. And we go on to see later in Scripture that it talks about our existence glorifies God. He made us to glorify Him. Our very existence brings Him glory. Our design is a reflection of His creativity and His majesty. Our intellect is a reflection of the sovereignty and the vast knowledge of God. Our desire for fellowship is a reflection of His eternal relationship that we talked about last week in considering the Trinity. Our desire to create is a reflection of the Creator Himself. Our playfulness, our joy, our kindness, our compassion, our goodness, even our sorrow and our deepest longings, these are all reflections of the Creator who images Himself by making us to display His glory. And then, of course, our love is a reflection of His incredible love that we see most profoundly displayed through the life, the death, and the resurrection of the Son, Jesus Christ. This got me thinking this week that I think when God says in Romans 1 that we are without excuse for not knowing Him, that every person has an opportunity to know God, to see His glory, to see His eternal attributes, I think it's partially because we don't need to look farther than in the mirror to actually see God, to see His image created, imprinted onto us. We look in the mirror and we see this reflection of God. God has brilliantly designed the world where He can express Himself and reveal Himself to us through all of His creation, but especially and uniquely through mankind, through us. And it's just a marvelous display of His glory. Again, I encourage you to read through John Piper's submission in the commentary section, but I'm going to try to keep it shorter today, so let's go to our prayer for today that we can find in the app and pray that together as we close. Father, Maker of all, let us not lose sight that we and every human being you have made are created in your image. Never let us doubt this about ourselves. Never let us doubt this about any other man or woman. For to do so denies you the glory that is due to your name. Your likeness glimpsed in us testifies that we belong to you, body and soul. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's been really great to have you here. I hope you continue to follow along as we go through this weekly devotional so that we can grow closer to God together. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.